Hello Tarot fans and welcome to another edition of Blue Sicx Tarot. We're fantastic host Blue Sicx. Thank you very much for watching. Now in today's video we're going to be fusing cool Art Nouveau with fun steampunk. Doing an unboxing today, and without further ado, roll on those intros. Today we'll be looking at the Steampunk Art Nouveau tarot deck I came across about last month in my local store, and steampunk's always been pretty cool, but at the same time the fact they're doing it Art Nouveau, I thought it'd be an interesting very interesting sort of look, and it's done by Sicx, so you know it's going to be good. So just a quick look. So at the front we have what looks like the Page of Cups on the back, on the front rather. Nothing designed on the side, and Temperance on the back. And you've also got the name of the artist there, Luca Storici. I'm not quite sure if I pronounced that correctly, but a lot of the artists are Italian, as it is an Italian company. So as I said, if you've got a deck by Sicx, it's same standard measurements. Unfortunately, during the move I still haven't actually managed to find my tape measure, so I'll just have to kind of make do. So we'll take a look at the deck. Skip forward a bit because you don't want to watch me fighting with packaging. So as I said, we've got the well, I think it's the Page as the title card, as it were, and the card on the instructions we have is the Temperance. So if we just that way, so got a nice advert for one of the other decks. This one does come up quite a lot. The back looks quite nice. I think that, I don't know if I prefer the look of this one to the other steampunk, but we can always do a comparison video another time. But it's a lot brighter, and nice clockwork, nice bits of clocks and cogs and stuff. So I think that looks quite nice. Yeah, so we're going to take a quick look. So obviously we've got the steampunk fish there. Oh, quick before we do that, just a quick look. So with the Sicx, with their little book, they usually have their kind of type of spread. So this is the spread for this deck, and we'll just have a quick look. So with the instructions, you've also got like this general meanings, and the spread that they show at the front tends to be stayed at the back, right? So you have the first card is what's going on. The second card is what activity should I implement first. What is the observed result, and what logical conclusion can I draw from this? So that's just the 4-card spread they have in this book, which, as I said before, if you get Sicx and they've got the little book, mostly they tend to be the Celtic Cross, but if it's a theme deck like this, they have their own one. So now that out of the way, let's take a quick look. Just angle it that way. So first we have the Fool, and I think the Fool looks quite nice and jolly in this. The fact that you've got a lot of the design around the card as well, I think looks quite nice, so I'd angle it a bit better that way. So I think the Fool looks quite good, a nice little mechanical dog there. So next we have the Magician. Yeah, very nice smithy. I like the design of the sword they have here. So it looks like the swords are going to be kind of funky looking. The wand, basic. The wand, nothing really special, but I think the design's still quite good. There. So next we have the High Priestess. So the steampunk looks quite good. The Art Nouveau is kind of subtle in that for me. I have a copy of the Art Nouveau as well. So I might, as I said, probably do a comparison there. But it is a nice kind of art sort of look to it, but I wouldn't necessarily say Nouveau. Not that I'm an expert. So next we have the High Priest. Next we have the Empress with a with a nice shield and a scepter. You've got this nice little ornate bit at the top here that I don't think I noticed with the others. Then next we've got the Emperor. That kind of has the kind of sun. It looks like it's got the sun. Does the Queen? The Queen doesn't. The Empress doesn't really have the moon, but this looks very much like the sun. Although not a lot of design around him there. And you've got the Hierophant. You still got your 2 keys at the bottom. It's all kind of very. So a lot of these feel very big. The people in the cards feel very big, kind of overtaking the card. I don't mean that in a negative. It just has a very. It's about the person, not what's going on around them, which is still pretty cool personally. Next we have the Lovers. Very kind of simple, but not in a bad way. You know what you're getting. The steampunk theme isn't really there except for in the background, but you get the feel of the card there. Next we have the Chariot. The Chariot feels very busy. There's a lot going on there. I don't necessarily think, once again, I don't think none of these are criticisms really, but this one feels very busy, and there's a lot of detail to this. And some of the details I think are quite nice. So next we have Strength with a Robo Lion. Nope, that's a lion. A lot of colour, a lot of bold colours for this one. This one does feel very standout-ish. Quite like that one. The Hermit, that's pretty cool. Nice little. The idea of him being on a little hot air balloon, that's quite nice, and the arm there, that's pretty cool. And instead of being on the top of a mountain, he's just above the mountains. I really like that. That's quite fun. The Wheel of Fortune, very standard, I feel, but unfortunately with the wheel, it's very tricky to kind of make it look super interesting, if I'm honest. Next we have Justice. The posture is pretty interesting. Rather than being face on, she's to the side, so there is a bit more like a person rather than a system is judging. It feels more like justice of the people rather than justice of the system. But that might be my internal politics leaking through now. Right, next we have the Hanged Man. Once again, not a lot going around him. He looks quite nicely dressed. He does not want to be there. But I don't know, it feels kind of it feels a bit empty to me. Next we have Death, and I think that looks quite nice with his very long snake. Very Baron Samedi, I feel. Top hat, purple waistcoat. I wouldn't have thought I've gotten that feeling, the sort of thing you would go for with the Death card. I also like the designs around him looking like an hourglass, that's pretty cool. But yeah, that gives very Baron Samedi vibes. Next we've got Temperance, so I was correct with that. But then it's kind of hard not to. But as I said, she fills the card here. She is the card, it's not anything behind is irrelevant. But it is very nice, and I like her cyber wing as well. So next we have the Devil. Not what I would have expected with the Steampunk Tarot. The Devil card is a mechanical monster. Whilst in here it's a woman with wings, a very nice outfit. Also, I like the cybernetic leg enhancements, looking like goat feet. Whether they are replacements or additions, I'm not quite sure. In fact, got 2 people in her palm. Kind of feels pretty kind of cool with that in their symbology. I might be using this card for my Monday cards. If you know, you know. So we now have the tower. I think that looks pretty cool. It feels, just by the kind of fish eye lens perspective of how you see it at the bottom, it does give the feeling of confusion and instability. So if this was, I can imagine this easily being like a shaky camera sort of appeal to it. So next we have the star. We're looking very kind of very elegant. On quite a few stars in the top there. Although it's during the day, most comes at night, but yeah, it's still pretty cool. Wouldn't necessarily say steampunk. So this is probably more, this is where the Art Nouveau is more kicking in, I would say. I mean, I'm no art expert, but I can only do forms of comparison in this regard. Okay, so now we've got the moon. I love the moon in this. That looks pretty cool. And both the metal towers and just everything just being mechanical. That's quite nice. The sun. Sun looks kind of annoyed, kind of pissed off. It doesn't look like it wants to be there. We've got the kid at the bottom riding a mechanical horse. So this is very, very, still kind of very classic for the rider, very rider weight, which is always handy. Can't beat the rider weight. Judgment. Yeah, looks. I think looks quite nice. I like the pillars. The pillars are interesting. The horn being kind of brass or bronze or what have you. That's kind of where we're going. That's kind of the onset theme. But the pillars look quite interesting. Then we have the world. Once again, the world pretty much fills the card. So, so far I'd just say that this, I don't know, I'd say if you're a beginner or this would be like your second or third deck, I think you'd be fine. But as I said, these really stand out. I think these are quite nice. So next we have the chalices. Who just got the ace with some birds at the top there. Not really a lot to say, although it's being held in that cog there. So the two, once again, more of the era sort of clothing, which I think looks good. Yeah, they're sharing a drink. It's kind of very traditional very classic to what you normally see. The three of cups. I can only just see that person down the bottom there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Once again, nice clothes. I like the fact that they're kind of blonde, redhead, and black hair. I think that's quite nice as well. Not necessarily the three phases with the girl, maiden, crone, but more just three different types of hair. This depiction of the four, I think is quite nice. The little pad at the bottom offering the cup, and this other, and him more into contemplation. I think that looks quite nice. There's five. I've always found the five as kind of a tricky one, but the fact that the cups are kind of still in front, and it implies that, holding them in the hand. So it implies that there's still a little extra there. They're not just all five on the floor, but they're carrying one. So I always look at that as three failures, one success or one attempt, and still carrying the other. So that one doesn't feel as miserable to look at. And then we've got the Sicx. Two kids kind of playing around on a pillar. I think that's quite nice. Once again, this one has a bit more design around the edges, although traditionally there's a lot of scenes going on in the background with this just standard version. Also, one thing I'd like to note for that deck, this deck also has a feeling that it's kind of worn. So even with the box, I actually, when I've purchased the box, every now and a time I looked at it, it did feel that it's been used. I was actually worried that it was either second hand or like a rough print. But no, throughout the deck, this does feel like that. But by how these are all coloured around the sides and stuff, they feel very intentionally old. Here we have the seven of cups, and I always like the fact it's in a little cabinet. Once again, this cabinet just takes over the card. There's not much else happening. We've got the gentleman at the bottom there, and yeah, it looks once again nice little robo dragon. It's always cool. So we've got the eight of cups. I like this. Just and a hot air balloon, chucking all the cups, going, screw you guys, I'm going elsewhere. So I think that's quite fun. So we've got the 9. I like the fact it's a pirate, or at least someone who looks like they're a pirate, with all of the stuff that they with all the stuff that they want, but not necessarily everything they need. The kind of decoration at the top here is very this does stand out to me in the kind of Nouveau style. I mean, then I'm only making points of comparison. This one's quite nice, the 10, with the fact I've got like a little observatory. The house looks a hell of a lot more interesting than just a shack in the forest when you compare it to the Rider-Waite. No, I was correct with that. The page, and so we'll get to see the little symbols at the top. So we've got this like a sword on a shield for the knight, for the page. Obviously you've got the fish at the top and a very large chalice. So next we have the knight on a mechanical seahorse. I think seahorses aren't used enough in tarot. I feel we need more seahorses. Gosh darn it! Yeah, this one looks quite nice. I love the fact they're underwater. So you've got the nice hair flowing. There's a lot of the design around the card. I think it's pretty cool. Next we've got the Queen. So we've got like a thin crown. It doesn't feel like there's much going on with her. She's not as central. Doesn't feel as central to the card in regard comparative to the pattern here. But you kind of get the same feel. But I don't know. It doesn't feel as striking as some of the other cards. There we go. The King feels a lot more present in this than the Queen. It always can't be a top hat though. But yeah, he feels a bit more there, more present in the card there. Next we've got the chalices with the. I thought that was the protest twist, but no, the card it's just holding the coin there. So next we've got the 2. Someone in flight, which is quite interesting. Using both to balance. Now, usually the 2 of coins is in the Rider-Waite Smith. Someone holding a coin up above and one holding slightly lower, weighing the options. Whilst these feel that they have the same weight and same importance, because it looks like he needs both of those to continue on. And next we've got the 3 of coins. I have no idea what's going on here, but I kind of love it, and I want to know the story behind this. The fact it's not just steam, but there's wires. They're making something, and I want to know the story behind that. Next, we've got the 4 of coins. I love how kind of it feels like there's a lot of, not chaos, but a lot of stuff going on around this one with the Dr. Octopus tentacles, Dr. Octopus arms on the back, holding down 2 coins at the bottom, because it feels like they have more to lose if they don't know what they need to do with their finances. Okay, next we've got the 5. I still like the fact that there's a church in the background of this and the coins being at the front. So it feels more like that she's out to get the coins rather than going into the church. So that's a nice little kind of change from how it's usually done. 6 of coins is usually a charity. I'm a fan of. I'm not going to complain about a redhead on the card. She looks great, but I don't know, it feels a bit kind of odd considering how it's usually like, it's usually a wealthy person giving away money, but it feels more like, I don't know, still someone of wealth handing out money as charity, so I shouldn't really complain too much. So next we have the 7. It's just a person just hard at work doing their graft. All of these cogs all over the place. Yeah, so obviously these coins represent cogs in this one. Just nice, busy man. Next we have the 8 of coins. just a machine just doing conveyor belt stuff, just monotony. I think this one has a good feeling to it, in a kind of, the message feels more like you're not just practicing and honing, you're just, it's second nature, but at the same time it can just be very dull and repetitive. So now you've got the excuse me, got the 9, and you still kind of got the falcon on the glove there, whilst the coins are wrapped around, once again with the nice design around the side there. I think it looks quite nice. It doesn't necessarily have the same feel and vibe, but once again the person fills the card. Next we have the 10. I like the kind of fan design here. I think it looks really good. I think they're on transportation. As I'm doing this video, I'm looking at the card upside down, so yeah, so it looks like they're on some form of transportation, probably a balloon, because steampunk. And so next we have the page of coins, and this one just has more of they're holding the book, so she is out there to study, she is out there to learn, practice and understand what is around her. Next we have the knight. The fact that she's on a mechanical ball rather than like a more field working horse, I think is pretty cool. And obviously got the goggles, got the steampunk goggles, that side of it. Got nice steampunk goggles, and quite a nice background as well, to be fair. So we've got the queen. I think we're gonna have the same thing again, where she doesn't, she's not taking as much space, but her hair kind of is adding to it, so it does feel, so she does feel like she has more presence in this card than the Queen of Cups. But I do wonder if she'll kind of feel like she has less presence compared to the King. I was correct. So, from the angle I thought that was wheat. Yeah, so obviously the King has a lot more of a presence. Still the design's quite nice. I like the fact instead of it being a desert, it's just more mountain ranges. I mean, rather than a sandy desert, it's just more rock formation stuff. I think that's quite nice. Right, next we have the wands, and I like the fact that that looks like a jellyfish. That is kind of cool. I'm quite interested to see how the rest of this deck goes. So 2 of wands, airship, and it looks like both wands are control mechanisms to decide your direction. So that's kind of an interesting take. Because it's usually sometimes considered as 2 paths diverging, whilst this has more of a physical representation of that. So that's quite cool. 3 of wands, very classic style of someone looking out to just looking out to the looking out of the window, at least, not necessarily out to the sea, but it does have the same vibe as the classic Rider-Waite. So we've got a 4 of wands, and it has a different energy to it. The fact that it kind of feels like it's more contained. So you've got the wands on the outside, and within the middle there's being a nice garden, whilst the outside is the rest of like the card rather than the scene. So more protecting yourself and keeping the inside different from the inside of the home different to the outside. And then we've got the 5 of coins. Sorry, no, 5 of wands, and I like this as well because 5 of wands is sometimes depicted as like conflict. But yeah, these 2 mechanical people are just pushing in the same direction and just going around in circles. So I've got the 6. So this doesn't necessarily have the feeling of going out on a big journey, and it does have or returning back, but this does have the feeling of victory and superiority in that sort of vibe there. Next we've got, there you go, we've got the 7, conflict and a lot of pushback. I like the fact this little mechanical men, I do like the mechanical men. I like the fact this guy kind of looks cowboyish, but not quite, so that's quite fun. 8 of wands, they are literally just, I think they're just being fired out of this machine. and it's always good to have a bit of propulsion and kind of a nice little representation of what's pushing stuff forward. So we've got the 9, a good form of defence, a good feeling of having to put up barriers. So I do think that represents that one quite nicely. The 10, that looks pretty cool. I like the fact they're little smokestacks as well, so they're just letting off, well, smoke and steam. That's quite fun. And they're in the desert. So yeah, there's a lot of burdens and struggles they kind of have to deal with. So we've got the page. Once again, she looks quite open and free and kind of very inspired. Also notice that all the pages or pages and knights are women, so the only men in the court cards are the kings. Depending on the deck, but it's always quite nice to kind of see a lot more women in the court cards. That's just a personal taste. Next we got the knight. In fact, the knight's on a dragon, I think is pretty cool. Still got the fun stuff there. Once again, the dragon takes up more of the picture than she does, but I don't know, it feels more like because she's riding the dragon, you focus on the dragon and she controls the dragon. So the dragon is the bigger problem, it's the bigger immediate issue and the bigger draw too, while she can kind of do what needs to be done without really being noticed. This queen feels like this queen fills more up, fills the card a lot more than the others. So this was good, and once again feels a nice bit of. She's the sort of person who would be very inspiring to work with or under. The king looks like he's compensating with his crown and his wand, but yeah, he doesn't fill the card up as much, and I think it's quite interesting. I think it's a fun artistic choice with that compared to the other courts that we've had so far. So at last we're looking at the swords. Once again, cool sword, and there's a lot of the sky there, which bets. So 2 of swords. Now the 2 doesn't always necessarily, the person isn't always blindfolded, but I think they've done the design of this quite nicely. The fact that we've got the moon on the background as, once again, part of decoration, and kind of how she's basically her posture and how she's holding the swords, I think is pretty cool. And there's still a lot more colour in this than there usually is in other decks. So you've got the 3 of swords. Also, she's a representative of the heart. They've done something interesting with it, steampunk wise. Not a huge fan of it, not one of my favourites, but it still looks quite interesting. So next we've got the 4, and I think this robotic person is just being repaired. So sometimes this should be a good representation of how it takes them. This is a card to say, don't just rest, take a self-care day. Next we've got the 5. So not much, nothing looks like that. Not a lot. It doesn't look like a lot has happened. But this guy's victorious either way. But it looks like it was a relatively easy victory. So that's always quite good. So next we got the 6. So it's usually with the boatman and 2 people, whilst this looks more, I'm not sure if that's supposed to be the boatman or the person taking the journey. So I'd feel probably it's more of like a calling of, hey, your boatman has arrived, go on that bloody journey. So next we have the 7 of swords. Once again, very typical Rider-Waite-Smith affair. Although, once again, he does fill the card up a lot more than in the traditional Rider-Waite. And he doesn't look like he's struggling too much, but it doesn't look like it's particularly easy either. It's got the 8. I think it's interesting the fact that she's not that she's kind of tied up by cords at the top as well. I think that's tied to a pillar maybe, with the swords in front. Now, once again, depending on the deck, they're not always. It's usually tied up by rope, but in the middle of basically the cliffs. But yeah, she's tied. Yeah, but she's tied up and bound to the pillar there. Next, we've got the 9. I think that's a good representation of the 9. The sword's taking up most of the space, whilst the person being affected by it is just taking up less. I think that's a good that's kind of like a good representation for it. I think. Then you've got the 10. I was just checking that is a robot, not a person. I don't think that's a person in the suit, but it's hard to tell. But yeah, this person is just, so it's usually stabbed in the back. The fact that it's all over the place, like in the Deviant Moon, I think always works. I always think it's a bit more impactful, and it feels like there's a lot more to their story than just being stabbed in the back. And also we look at the last corpse. So we've got the page on the mountaintop. It can kind of not like unaware, but there is a bit of feeling of like her mind's wandering. She's not quite able to fully focus on something. Yeah. And next we've got the knight on an owl, a night owl, as it were. Anyway. I similar to the dragon, the owl is taking up quite a lot of the picture, whilst the knight on top, she's just kind of very casual about it. So once again, it does feel more a case of, hey, it's not me you have got to worry about, it's them, which I always think is kind of fun and cool. Right, the Queen. Okay, I like this. So she's more to the side rather than in the centre. She's once again able to take up more space, and kind of her hair being up in the air. Yeah, she's able to take up a lot more space, and once again feeling a bit more impactful. So I think it's because the swords and the wands tend to be a bit more assertive, whilst the other two tend to be a bit more passive. That's probably why they don't take up as much space in the card as the kings do. And last, King of Swords. Old grey man beard, very serious. Not necessarily as steampunky as I thought, but to be fair, steampunk does vary. It's not all the, not everyone in the steampunk sort of aesthetic looks the same. Yeah, so that's the unboxing of the Steampunk Art Nouveau from Lescarbao. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you all on the flip side.